Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. I'm Amy Shannon, but you can call me Amy. Thank you for listening. Hello and welcome, and I hope all is well with you. I'm Amy, and today I'm talking about writing short stories. Now, I've covered this topic before, usually when I am promoting an author short story. And one thing that has come to me recently is that it's harder for me to write long novels because of some health issues that I have and physical limitations. But one thing that I have been able to do, because my mind wants me to continue to tell stories, and that is write shorter stories. And, to me, and it may not be, everybody looks up, what is this called? This type of book called, if it's got this many words or that many words, or, it's so huge or so short. If it's under 500 words, it's flash fiction. Then there's short stories and novellas, whatever you want to call it. And there's even novelettes, and then you have the larger novels, and you have the epic novels, and so on and so forth. And also another thing that I noticed that some writers do is they keep track of their word count. Like, I wrote 5,000 words today. Well, I would be happy if I was able to get to 3 chapters. Not that it's wrong counting, looking at your word count, but I usually just look at my word count when the story has been finished, at least the first or second draft. As the second draft is, filling in and making sure that everything is closed up and, the plots all come together. As I have written several different short stories. Sometimes one of them I put into, a couple of them I put into my anthology, which was my final chapter, A Legacy of Words, and that's when I didn't believe I was going to be able to write anymore as much as I wanted to. But it was also a collection of stories that I wrote from when I was younger to stories that I wrote as an adult. I have several notebooks, and I have stories that have been started. Sometimes, you get to that point where I never call it writer's block, I call it story block. And I had these 2 stories that kind of had the same genre in mind. But then I realized that putting them together made for a better one story than 2 separate stories. So I was able to do that, and I'm still working on the editing. I'm hoping that maybe somebody will say, oh yeah, I'll read it for you. But, that happens a lot to me, If I ask people if they want to read one of my stories, oh yeah, sure, I'll get to it. And so anyways, that's besides the point. So 2003, I just kept having these thoughts about doing another paranormal short story. I only wrote one other one called The Bridge of Shadows, and that I really liked how that turned out. But then I was thinking about writing a story that had to do with my hometown. I call it my hometown. I've been living in or around the area, and I always come back to the small town of Ballston Spa in Upstate New York. And whether I'm living right in the middle of the village or on the outside of it, I consider it home. I grew up and we moved around a lot, and my mom hated it when we didn't live in Ballston Spa because we had to move for whatever reason. But anyways, it wasn't until years ago when I realized that I wanted to be home, and I wanted to feel like I was in a home, that I had a hometown. My family moved to Ballston Spa when I was about 13. That was in 1986. When we moved here, and I grew up, graduated from high school here, and then I got married twice and moved in and out of the area. And when things seemed to break apart for me, I wanted to be home, so I did, and I'm very glad that I did. And I live in this area because it makes me feel at home. And I raised my kids here. They're grown up. They still like hanging out with their mom, or at least living with their mom. Actually, I'm more like living with them. Anyways, I'm really going on and on. So this is the first book I ever wrote, the first story I ever wrote, taking place in Ballston Spa, and it's in the middle of the cemetery, and it's called The Forsaken. It is on Amazon. I'm also selling signed copies on eBay, so you can go to eBay, and you want to look for The Forsaken by Amy Shannon, and make sure it says it's a signed copy, and it's under the moniker or the store name of Nifty Next. That is me and my son. We do eBay now and then, but so that's my account. And entering into the world of short stories can be daunting, and I think it's, if you want to challenge yourself, try to do that. Or, think of your novel that you wrote. It's 200 some odd pages, and then how would you make that a short story while still telling the story? That could be a challenge. I like writing challenges. Anyway, I normally read excerpts from other people's books, but this one I kind of just want to read an excerpt from mine. I don't do this very often, but I think it's fitting that I share some of mine and you guys, because you guys always share your stories with me, so I just wanted to share a little piece of my story, and hopefully it'll intrigue you to want to read more. I'm going to read the prologue. Dorothy Wellington smoothed out her black slacks. She tightened the blue sheer scarf she wore around her neck, her hands shaking nervously. Her graying black curly hair hung down lightly, resting on her shoulders. She gulped heavily, remembering her father's call. "Daddy, you must come home soon, before it's too late. It's important." Actually, it wasn't her father's voice she heard. It was that of his aide, Glendora. She was summoned to her family home, something that, even at the age of 50, made her feel like a young girl due for a lashing. She dreaded the visit, not just because of legends and ghost stories that were spread around the small town of Ballston Spa in upstate New York, nor that the family home was positioned in the middle of the cemetery. She regretted that she didn't come around very often. Not for a while, not since she lost Elisha. She wondered if Pop wanted her or her gift, and if he was going to mention her not coming home more often. She had to face the gift head on. It was something she tried to shy away from, but it was always there. What a place to live, with the gift of speaking with the dead. The birth of the cemetery started out as a family burial site. She was a descendant of the Hydes family. She knows her family's history and the rumors that surrounded it, but nothing could really prepare her for what was about to happen when she opened those doors. The doors of the family home, the oldest home in Ballston Spa, but it was also the oldest building, with its intention to be a church, a Catholic church. It eventually was a meeting house, but also the family home. Many prominent men of the town would gather and have discussions over whiskey. She heard the stories from generations of her family sharing with her. She looked at the dark house. its paint worn, but there were still viable stained glass windows. The family's ancestor, Dobson Hyde, was rumored to be the first person buried in the cemetery. Its wooden cross on the gravesite was eventually replaced with cement. The name and the year eroded and faded over the years. She could see that the grave, as it sat very close to the home's porch. She now looked around, and it was a full-fledged cemetery with only a dirt road for modern cars to drive over. She knew over the years the growth of the cemetery becoming a non-sectarian cemetery. The home overlooked where the trees were planted, and ivy started creeping around the house. She dreaded going to the cemetery. Her father called her unique and reminded her it was a gift, but others, when they heard what she claimed to be able to do, called her crazy. So when she was old enough, she moved downstate to the Catskills, where she worked as a historian. She just didn't tell anybody how she got some of her information. Cemeteries were full of lost souls, and sometimes too many voices to keep straight in her head. She looked back at the entrance where she pulled in, her car parked blocking the entrance. She didn't want to inadvertently park on anyone's grave out of respect. She walked up the stairs to the long porch and approached the dark red doors, paint chipping. She pressed the doorbell, chiming like a crying cat lost in the wind. Staring at the door, she had to quiet the background noise of the voices roaming around the cemetery. So that's my story, The Forsaken, and I hope that, you might pick it up at Amazon, or you can get an autographed copy. You can email me if you want an autographed copy. I would be happy to send you one. I have several books for sale. If you buy a signed copy from me, it is only $8. And of course, you can email me at amysbookshelfreviews@gmail.com. And I really thank you for listening, especially to this particular show. If you're an author who wants your book to be on the show, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast for more information. If you're an author and you want your book to be reviewed, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com for more information. Thank you, and I'll talk to you again next week.
This has been Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Thank you for listening. And always, be kind and stay safe. Thank you.